Okay, so I'm recording on Zoom, so I'm gonna hang up with you.
All right, you want me to go ahead and do my video and stuff?
What do you mean?
Like put my video and microphone back on?
Yeah, I'm gonna get ready too.
Okay. See you later.
Bye. So, hey everybody, we're really sorry about the Google Meet, trust me, because we have been like sitting here agonizing over it for the past probably 15 minutes at this point, trying to figure out what on earth is going on. We're not quite sure, but I know it wouldn't let us start the meeting with our personal school, not our personal, but our school account, so we had to move over to our personal ones. Not that that was a big deal, but we're sorry if it caused you guys any inconvenience. Let's see. All right, and since this is such a small group, if y'all have any questions, just go ahead and stop us right then. You don't necessarily have to be muted. That's your own. Hold on one second. That is your own choice as far as whether you need to be muted or not muted. And so we are recording this session. So if you need to go back and watch it, you can. I'm still admitting a few people. So if you'll just give me a few minutes.
Also, if you have any other questions, you can type in the chat as well, and one of us will be happy to answer them there as well.
And there's still some people, so we'll just give them another maybe a minute or two. We'll go ahead and drop I know it had a link in it, but we'll go ahead and drop the link for the actual presentation too. The presentation that we're going to show you has a lot of videos and things like that. That way you can actually go back and watch these videos like on your own time. And so that'll be super helpful for going back and making some of your own stuff. So there's the actual link to the presentation. And we got maybe I think another link that we'll drop in a few minutes when we get there, where you can actually, it's a Google Doc that's set up to put your ideas in, but we'll drop that link when we get to that point. Okay. All right. Let's see. And for some reason, it didn't want to let us record, so I'm trying to toggle between recording on Google Meet. Well, I couldn't record on Google Meet, but I'm trying to work between Google Meet and actually recording through Zoom. No. All right. Okay. Oh my gracious. And every time I get ready to get started, someone else pops up that they want to join. So sorry. But we'll go ahead and get started. So today what we're going to talk about is putting literacy into all of your core subjects, math, science, and social studies, using technology, which is hard, but also super easy at the same time if you just spend a little bit of time doing it. So we'll kind of show you some ways that you can do that today. And then we'll also show you how to make some stuff and do some stuff like that. So we're excited that you have chosen our session to come to today, because as we all know, literacy pays off tenfold in every subject matter. So if we're building that literacy, we can truly build our students' knowledge to just go above and beyond where we even expected them to be. So here's our little, and we love our little Bitmoji people. We have found that our students love that. And we'll tell you about what we teach and all that kind of stuff in just a second.
Okay, so our mission for this session is, during it, we want you to learn how to integrate reading and writing into all subject matter with the use of technology. We're going to be using online journals, read alouds, and lots of other great resources that you can take from this session and then put into your own classroom. The best part about this is that all of these resources we will be showing you will work perfectly during your distance learning, because we all know that right now we've all got parts, at least partly remote learning, if not all remote learning for a little while.
And our county, we are from Beaufort County, and our county has decided to do remote for the first 4 weeks of school right now, depending on our case number. But ours has been steadily increasing. So let me tell you a little about me. My name is Holly Patrick. I am a 5th grade math, science, and social studies teacher at John Small School in Beaufort County. Our school is a 4th and 5th grade elementary school. Houses around 500 4th and 5th graders. It's a wonderful school. I have taught 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. I actually did 3 years of looping with my kids. So I taught them in 3rd, 4th, and 5th this most previous year, which was probably one of the best things I had ever done. Just how much we learned and loved each other was, it was pretty amazing to me. I'm married. I've been married for 13 years. And I have a 3-year-old who is on the autism spectrum. So if you hear anybody screaming in the background, it's because I have given him his iPad and please go play and be good. So if you hear anything like that in the background, just know that I am trying my best. I have included my email here in case you have any questions that you don't decide to ask during the session. You're more than welcome to send an email to me. And then I'm going to give it over to Melissa.
And hello, I'm Melissa Tripp. I'm a 5th grade reading, science, and social studies teacher at John Small School in Beaufort County. Miss Patrick and I are actually team members. We teach inclusion. So she teaches math, I teach reading, and then we both teach science and social studies. I've included my email down below as well in case you have any questions for me. I am married as well, been married for 3 years. We have an almost 2-year-old son. He is just absolutely amazing. It's fun to watch him grow and learn new things. So that's all for me.
So the neat thing I think about Melissa and I is we both started 5th grade at the same time together, me moving from 4th up to 5th and her coming from the school that I previously taught at. I won't say that I recruited her, but at the same time I did. But I just really wanted her to be my teammate. And so we were the only our only team of teachers, the 2 of us. All of the rest of our 5th grade was in 3-person teams. And her and I started teaching. We had to teach our own group of science and social studies, whereas everyone else was just strictly departmentalized. In the long run, our school has actually moved to 2-person teams because it was and not that scores are the end all be all, but our scores with even our inclusion kids were off the charts for science. And I mean, that was just such a big to-do for us. So we are so excited to be able to share some things that we did with you guys, because I think just being in that 2-person team just really made all the difference for us. And working with your team is probably one of the most important things you can ever do.
Yes. So if you have any questions during our session, please post it in the chat and we'll do our best to answer it. We're going to kind of piggyback off of one another. If I'm presenting, Ms. Patrick can answer some questions in the chat, or if she's presenting, then I can answer some questions. And if we happen to miss your question because there's some coming in at the same time, just please post it again. You'll be given access to this PowerPoint, as Ms. Patrick said before, to use after the session to watch the videos again if you'd like. And plus you'll be able to go back and watch the recording of the session as well.
Okay. All right. So one of the most common things that I always hear is math teachers, when it comes to literacy, say, but I teach math. And it is one of the most incorrect statements that I could ever hear a teacher make. So in my mind, when I think about literacy matters in every situation. And math is not one of those that can just be forgotten. So when you talk to these math teachers about literacy, the common things they're going to tell you: number one, I don't have the qualifications and the training. I teach math. I don't know how to teach reading. The second thing, which is probably the most common thing, since we teach 5th grade, we hear a lot of stuff about, a large focus of our time is about EOGs and preparing students for those. They're going to tell you my EOG or my EOC will not be about reading skills. And the third easy cop-out is I don't have time. I'm too busy teaching my math. So what we're going to do today is try and give you some easy ways that you can work to start integrating that just by using some of the skills you have. And I think what you'll see is that if everyone in your school starts incorporating just little pieces of literacy into their everyday, that it's going to help your entire group of students. Okay. Oops. So when you get these people that say, well, why? This is why. Okay. So why should I teach reading and writing when I am not responsible for their reading or writing? Okay. So literacy is connected to every subject. Expanding the vocabulary will be remarkable for everybody. For math teachers, your math teachers, if you build your students' literacy, imagine how much better they're going to be able to read those word problems. You're going to help build those 21st century skills across all settings. You're going to gain teamwork and integration between all of your school, between your reading, math, science, and social studies teachers. And learning is a collaborative responsibility. In your school, learning is not just teaching math is not just on me. Melissa, if there's anything that comes up with math, I hope that she hits it hard, and I know she does. But it's knowing that it's a collaborative responsibility, and building your school relies on everyone working collaboratively with each other. So another thing is students love read alouds. Hearing a math teacher do a read aloud in their classroom is amazing. And the whole thing is your boost in reading achievement is going to really help. So helping everybody and working together is the most important reason.
And I wanted to just kind of add, even teaching 5th grade, They came down to the carpet on the floor with me every day to do somewhat of a read aloud, whether it's to read our novel or just to read a book to get them interested in what we're doing for the day. They enjoyed a read aloud, even as fifth graders.
They tell me like, well, we got to read this today. They just love it. So here's a list of programs we're going to talk about during our presentation. So the Google Suite, we are a Google school, not necessarily a Google school, but that's our platform that we use for any of our online learning. We'll be talking about Google Slides, Google Sites, Google Forms, Google Drawings, and Google Classroom. Also talking about YouTube, a website that I like to do some math stuff on is Sketchpad 5.1, and then we're going to talk about Teacher Pay Teachers just a little bit because I know we all kind of know about that, but there are some specific a specific resource that we chose to purchase as a team in order to help build our science curriculum. I am Google 1 and Google 2 certified. I took those tests during this whole time. So if you have any Google questions too, you're more than welcome to ask them during this. Melissa, do you mind typing that link in?
Not at all.
Okay. So
I'm also Google 1 certified. I have not made it to the Google 2 yet.
She's going to get there though.
I did. I will.
So what she's getting ready to put over there is a link to a Google Doc, and it is pretty much a blank Google Doc. Any ideas that you have or thoughts that you have, you're more than welcome to go over and type them in this while we're talking. It's a community document. So if you have an idea, you can put it up there, and another person may put an idea. That way at the end, we'll have a whole long list of ideas that everyone can look at and use for their own classroom. You got it, Melissa?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so let's get started with math. And as you see, this is me over here with my whoops face on, because that was one of the things that I used to say. And here's Melissa with her books because she's the reading teacher. But math teachers are most likely to say, I don't teach reading. You can take it from me. So that was a previous statement that I used to say. I was too busy to teach reading. But in the long run, I realized that that was an honest mistake that I made. And a lot of times I learned it kind of from listening to teachers that were more established in their career. But I've definitely changed my tune about that whole idea. So we're going to talk about read alouds and math using technology, okay? So read alouds definitely have their spot in a math classroom, and I have spot in quotation marks because yes, our main focus is going to be learning the math, doing the math, and all that kind of stuff. But if you have time to use them, why not? And honestly, I use them sometimes as a warm-up, as a starter. And I have to give big kudos to we actually have a math instructional coach at our school that has helped me to build this idea of using literacy in my math classroom. So you can use read alouds literally anytime as a warm-up or as your lesson. It helps build your enthusiasm and engagement. And the best part of it, so one of the best things I've noticed is my third bullet down here that talks about it gives you a reference point for the remainder of your lesson. So I'm able to refer back to that day, something that happened in that book. I'm able to go back to it because it's a specific memory these kids have. And I'm really shocked at the things that they will tie back into it. So just the connection that they make with the story and math is pretty amazing. And I will tell you this. So I had a friend that when she was trying to incorporate, she was trying to pick, oh, here's a math book. I'm going to make this work for when I'm trying to teach. And instead of doing that, don't do that. And I know this is kind of a common sense. Use your skill to help pick a book. And the good thing is there are tons of lists out there. I don't know if anyone has mentioned, but we use the North Carolina Tools for Teachers. It's the not a curriculum, but it is a put together list of resources and a sequence that we use, and it is definitely has lots of read alouds in it to choose from. So we use those read alouds for sure. All right, so since we're all talking about technology and distance education, giving read alouds can be as simple as like turning on Google Meet and presenting a read aloud. And that's all fun and dandy. But I always like to bring a little bit of extra flair. So one of my big things is everyone kind of says that I'm super extra. Kind of all over the place, ADHD to the max. I'm just like, woo, all the time. Except when you catch me on a bad day, which is not too bad, not too often. But a read aloud can just be as simple, especially, my thing is, I want my students to be able to go back and listen to it again and again if they need to. So I'm not one to open my book and read it on Meet just so they can see it. I'm one to literally take it and make my YouTube video with it. I didn't get to do that as much as I wanted to during this first remote learning for the end half of our last school year, just because I think it was so overwhelming, shifting our whole idea of how we teach. But it can be simple as record it on your phone, download YouTube Studio and upload it, and you know, they can click on it and listen to the story. So my question is, do you want to be extra? And if you are me, the answer is yes. So I want to show you how to be a little extra. So this is an easy way to put your read aloud. This one is Spaghetti and Meatballs for All, a mathematical story, which is one that I used here in 4th grade. It's a super cute book about perimeter. And what you're trying to do there, if you haven't read the story, just real quick, a recap. They are having a spaghetti dinner, and they have invited a group of people, and they're trying to set the tables up to give that many people being able to sit around the table. More people come. You push the tables together. It's just a fun, interactive story for your perimeter lessons. So you can just stick this in there. Here's the book. Click here. And at least it's interactive. So when I click here, it's going to open up a YouTube video. So pretty much all I did was just take and link it through Google Slides. And this is made, of course, in Google Slides because that's what we're using today. But here's the extra. Here is how I give it to my kids. And they love it. It's like always a different thing. Okay, so here it is. This is my go-to idea. So pretty much what this is a digital classroom that I purchased off of Teacher Pay Teacher. And all I do is I won't show you the video yet, is I take and I link the book into this little area right here. And it literally takes me to the YouTube video showing a read aloud for Spaghetti and Meatballs for All. Pause her. Okay, so it just gives them that little bit of engagement, a little bit more enthusiasm. We're not in a classroom, but I'm trying to give them the idea of, hey, we're on the carpet. Come down here and, you know, read with us, listen. And we'll get to another one, which is the main one that we used. But our students talked about it forever. They were like, oh my gosh, I was able to read books. So it's just, you know, it really does build that engagement. And the good thing about this is you can stick this in your Google Slides for the day. You click on it and everyone in your class is watching that video. So it just builds that little bit of engagement that we're all going to need during distance education. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and play this video for you. It is a how-to video, and the good thing is too that you'll be able to go back and watch this video. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just take a second and use this video to help you see how to make your own quote-unquote kind of digital library or interactive classroom type of situation, because both of them kind of work the same way. So what I'm actually going to do is I actually have purchased some Bitmoji digital classrooms. You can find them on Teacher Pay Teacher. And all I have to do is drag this classroom in. Another way that you could do it is click change your background, choose image. I can go to my Google Drive, and I can just do it that way. But for this one, I've actually downloaded it already as a JPEG image. So I'm just going to drag it in. Okay. Here is the classroom that I'm using today. I'm going to get it filling up my slide. There we go. Okay. Next thing, super easy next step, is just come up here to my extension window for Chrome. I'm going to click my Bitmoji. And I am going to type pose. Pose is one of your best options for your Bitmoji characters. It gives you a lot of simple poses other than the dog. That is just, you know, just a Bitmoji without anything extra going on. So all of these are super great for this. The one that I am actually going to choose is going to be this one. So I'm going to drag her in. And the good thing about Bitmoji is, since it's already installed in the Chrome, all you literally have to do is just drag it in. I'm going to drag and drop. Okay. There it is. I'm going to kind of angle her so that it looks like she's sitting here excited. Woo! Get ready to learn. And then next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Google, and I'm going to search the book title. So the first one I'm going to do is spaghetti and meatballs for all. And I'm just going to type in book cover. And I'm going to go to images. And I'm just going to find, for example, this one's perfect. I just always like to click it so I can see it good. And I'm going to copy image. Okay. I'm going to go back to my classroom. I'm going to paste the book in. Okay. I'm going to make it a little smaller so it can fit. Oh, it's still big. Make it a little smaller so it will actually fit into my hand. I'm going to fit it in. Okay, so far so good. I've got my Bitmoji, I've got my classroom, I've got my book. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to YouTube. And I am going to search for a read aloud doing that. Now you can also record your own read aloud and do it kind of that way. But just for this example, I am going to find a ready-made read aloud. Okay. There we go. All right, so there are tons of read-alouds up here already. I'm gonna, of course you would preview them and do that type of thing to make sure it fits. Today I'm gonna read spaghetti and meatballs for all mathematics. So this will be fine for me. I'm gonna come up here and copy the link, and I'm going to go back to my classroom again. I'm going to, hold on, let me pause this. I am going to click my book. I'm going to come up here to this little insert link. And I'm actually going to insert that link connected to that picture. So I'm going to insert link. I'm going to paste my link in, and I'm going to apply it. Okay. And now the good thing is, when my students see this slide, they will be able to click the book, and when they click the book, a wonderful read aloud will pop up, taking them directly to the video that you wanted them to see. And that's how you can make your own interactive digital library.
All right. Oh,
okay.
Not again. So those are big in our classrooms, and our students love them.
So here's also a how-to, just kind of going over everything about how to add your Bitmoji, how to link your book, and that type of stuff. The next thing I want to talk about is using math journals using Google Slides, okay? So this is something new that I am working on for myself this year. So what can your math students put into their math journals? Problem of the day, KWL charts, bubble maps, takeaways for the day, vocabulary, even as far as like writing story problems. They are just so awesome, and Google Slides really makes it so easy to use. My plan is to have a Google Slide that's ready for the week with all 5 days in it, and kind of alternate between these things. So my favorite is problem of the day, and I'm going to show you what those have looked like for me so far. But I'm going to show you how I incorporated literacy in that idea of doing problem of the day and things like that. And this isn't just for Google Slides. I like Google Slides just because it's just easy to move between it. And also when I'm choosing problem of the day, I kind of alternate between doing a review and a current problem. Kind of going back and forth based on kind of what I've noticed. It's always important to think about your student needs, and whatever they need is what you give them. So when it comes to the question of how am I using literacy for these, I require my students to write about it, of course, write about it in classroom, but do their explanations, talk about mistakes, and talk about or type about their reasoning. So this all helps with the writing part of literacy, okay? So here are some examples of what my problem of the day actually looks like, because that is my favorite and that's what I normally do. So I just Google search a pretty little picture for the day of the week. I put it in there. I give them the problem, and this is more of a review problem that I would do at the beginning of division. We're taking a 3-digit number and dividing it by a single-digit number. But the whole thing of this one is you're not actually looking for how many pencils are given out. You're actually looking for how many pencils are given to each classroom and to the library. So it kind of makes them really dig deep. And all I do is put text boxes. Oops. I put text boxes in, that way the students just click there, they put their answer in, and then they use this space for their explanation, reasoning, or mistake, and they type in complete sentences. Now, does it take time to build that? Yes, 100%. But we do a lot of it verbally to begin with, and then in the long run, they are able to type it in, because giving them this little type area where they can type about everything just really makes it important for them, especially the mistake part. Okay, I'm gonna pause for 1 second. We have someone trying to come in. Okay, all right, and here's the Tuesday one. Tuesday is a little bit different. It actually starts going over fractions, which would be a 5th grade type of problem, but using the same idea. I am very specific about how I want my students to answer, and I will tell you that that's super important. And so this is where I wanted to talk about Sketchpad 5.1. This is more of your literacy part, where they are having to explain their reasoning or mistake that they made. But I'm going to switch over to this, and I'm going to bring you over. This is Sketchpad 5.1. I don't know if any of y'all have ever used this before, but I love this for your distance education. I know that they have, hopefully, most of them have pencil and paper, but what's really neat about this is it really gives students a chance to kind of draw stuff, and mine use the snippet tool where they can snip it and then they'll bring it over into their actual Google slide. So they are able to write. And, it just, again, it goes along the ideas of just building the engagement with your students, because just sitting here on a computer and writing on a sheet of paper is fine and dandy, but getting them to move over and do something more interactive is going to keep them engaged with you. Okay. All right, we're going to come back. All right. And those are the problem of the day classrooms. But excuse me, it's a problem of the day journals. Let's cut to the chase. You know, if you're helping students gain leaps and bounds in literacy, how is this going to help math? Well, you know that if a student can read, if they can comprehend complex text and can write about their work, they're going to outperform students who lack these skills. So building those skills in every idea of your classroom is going to help not only your reading, but it's going to help your math and social studies and science and all that kind of stuff. And it's not really that hard to integrate it. And I think that's the whole idea, is that just a little change in your daily schedule can really bring this in. Okay. All right. And now we're going to move to social studies. Does anybody have any questions about math? You are welcome to unmute yourself and ask a question. Or if no one has any questions right now, we can always talk at the end. Okay. Okay, so everything looks good. All right, Melissa is going to take it away with social studies and how social studies is just amazing.
Okay, so social studies and literacy kind of go hand in hand. Our county uses Wit and Wisdom. I'm not sure if any of the others of you use Wit and Wisdom, but that is a lot of background of history and social studies within it. So just as I said before, social studies typically incorporates a lot of history of people and events that have happened before us. So a really good thing for students to get into is researching and learning about these events and learning about the history and creating a digital project to showcase that. So in the video that I have linked right here, I'm going to show you how students can type into a Google slide after they do a research project. So let me give you a little bit of background of what we did in our classroom this year. So students for 5th grade with Wit and Wisdom learned a lot about Native American history. So in order to introduce all these different types of Native American tribes and get them interested in what we were going to read about in our novel, we had multiple tribes that students could research and then create a digital Google slide with. So students were looking at the customs of these tribes, the clothing, the food, the shelter, what these tribes were all about, and then they could in turn present it in the classroom to teach the other students about these tribes, so that way we didn't have to go through multiple weeks of learning about these different tribes, because we all know that time it's just not available in the classroom. So I did say in the classroom, but another way that you could possibly do this if you're doing all remote learning is the students could create these digital projects and then use a platform like Flipgrid to present their actual project so that others could watch it outside of the classroom.
And
so I'm gonna
jump in just for 1 second. We're talking about Flipgrid too. So that ties into literacy so much to me, just because of the speaking and listening kind of standards that you're hitting with those. And Flipgrid is amazing for everything.
And students can also respond on Flipgrid too. So they can do a response, speaking, or they could type a response. So that helps with the writing aspect and the speaking aspect as well. So Miss Patrick's going to go ahead and show you this video. Like I said, it's going to show you how to lock the background of a Google slide, so that when students go in to type on it, they're not deleting the background and they're not deleting the things that you've already put in. All they're doing is adding a text box and filling in their information. Social studies for 5th grade has a lot of history. this history and social studies is embedded into our language arts program. We used Wit and Wisdom. Many other school systems might use this as well, but what we started out doing was talking about Native American tribes. And the way that we got students interested in social studies and Native American tribes at the beginning of the school year was to have them research these different tribes on their own. So I'm going to show you an example of a digital project that we did with our students in order for them to learn about these Native American tribes. So as you see here, I have a simple Native American tribe template project for the students to do. Of course, you can spruce this up however you want. You can add whatever you'd like to, but this is just for me to kind of show you an example of what this might look like and to show you how to lock the background of your Native American tribe Google slide, so that way students only have to add text boxes and they will not be deleting any slides or any components that are on the slide. And then also how to create a copy of this for each individual student in their Google Classroom. So first, I just want to show you how we can lock the background of our Google Slides. So if you look at this one, the students were supposed to go online, or for example, we gave them passages about these particular tribes, and they were to read it and decipher it for themselves, and to come in and put the name of their tribe, the food that their tribe eats, or how they get their food, for example, hunting, fishing, the clothing that they wore, what this represented, the shelter that they lived in, how they built it, and then provide a picture. So right now, students could take this and drag whatever they want anywhere, and we don't want that to happen. So we know that this can be a complete disaster. So in order to fix that problem, what we would do is we would go over to File, and we would click Download, and you're going to download this as a PNG image. Now the reason we download this as a PNG image is because it will come up with the exact dimensions as the Google slide, therefore we don't have to worry about resizing it. So I'm going to download it as a PNG image, and as you see, it'll come down in my bottom left over here. And then I would go ahead and get rid of everything on my slide. And then what I would do is I would right click on my slide, and I would click on change background. And then I'm going to go here to choose image because we downloaded it as a PNG image. And if I go to upload, I just go to where it downloaded in the first place, and I drag and drop. And then as you see here, I can no longer move any of these backgrounds. So the students, when they get on, all you would have to tell them to do is add a text box. So they would go to add a text box, and then they could draw their text box, and then they could start typing what they need to. And the only thing that they're able to move is their text box. So that is just a simple way of creating a generic background for students to use. Now I'm going to show you how I can go into my Google Classroom and create a copy of this template for each student. Therefore, students are not all typing on the same template, but they have their own template that they can use without deleting anyone else's information. So if you toggle over to Classwork, and we're going to click Create to create an assignment. You could add Native American tribes, you could click Add, go to your Google Drive. I would click on my Native American tribe project, I would click Insert, and then right here where it says Students Can View File, you would just simply click Make a Copy for each student, and then it's ready.
And y'all, locking stuff is one of the most important things that you can do during this distance education time. And the literacy that they're going to gain between reading and research is just amazing.
Yes, and then them, being able to pull apart different aspects of what they're reading and placing it into where you would like for them to put it into the Google slide. Again, I know that we're talking a lot about Google Slides and Google Classroom, but that's what we use as a platform at our school. So if you do use it at your school, this could be things that you could incorporate, and even if you don't, you could incorporate some of it as well. Okay, so another example of something that you could use for social studies is a KWL chart. And again, you could put it into a Google slide. It's a great way for them to assess, or for you to assess their understanding of what they know about a topic before they even begin reading it, so you know where to start.
And I'm gonna say one thing.
Go ahead.
And it doesn't really hit me until I hear these ideas coming out, coming out of your mouth. So that's why I'm like, stop, I gotta. But distance education and KWL charts. So when you're assigning these things to your students, you have a Google Drive that is set up for your whole classroom where you can see all of these KWL charts. And it really, with doing online education, it's hard to really assess where your kids are, or not necessarily assess where they are, but when you're getting ready to start a new unit, to see their background knowledge and where they really are on a topic before being taught. These KWL charts really give you a chance to be able to see exactly where they are. So sorry, keep going.
No, I agree 100%. Thank you for saying that. It does help you to see where they are, where they're heading, and then what they learn after as well. So this is another short video of how to use a KWL chart using that same social studies aspect.
And I know we put a lot of videos in here, guys, but the reason we chose to put videos in instead of just showing you right now is that when we are done and we aren't on this screen with you, you can go back and watch these in order to help create anything that we show you in this.
Along with the Native American slideshow that students put together based on the information they summarized from their passages, they could create a KWL Google slide. This slide could be used to house information that students know before they begin reading about their tribe, or just about Native American tribes in general. They could then place in what they want to know before they read, and then what they've learned after. This would be a great way for the teacher to assess the students' knowledge of what they learned as they read the passage. It could also help them see what they learned as an individual versus in a group, if you decide to do their Google slide in a group project. So this is a very similar slide to the one that I showed you before. All that the students have to do is go up here and click the text box. And then draw their text box and begin typing what they want to type in their Google slide. And again, they cannot move the background of this. And an easy way for them to complete this is to do it in their Google Classroom or whatever platform that you may use. And students can all have their own copy. Just like I showed you before for inserting it into an assignment, all you have to do is click the drop-down menu and choose copy for each student.
And I have a random question just while y'all are doing this. If you don't mind typing, how many of y'all actually use, like Google Classroom as your platform? I'm interested to hear. I feel like it's the most common. I know a few people have talked about Microsoft. See, I'm like, oh man. But I've heard about Schoology. Is it Schoology? Use Teams. Woo! See, and I've never used Microsoft. I would assume it's probably pretty similar and can kind of use the same things, I would think, as far as like idea-wise, at least. All right, and now it's science, and we, between the two of us, we absolutely love science. So you will just be shocked about how much literacy that can be incorporated in science. And, you know, it's just really one of the easiest ways to incorporate literacy into your core subjects. So this is what I was going to talk about earlier. These digital libraries, which, I mean, I'll just admit it. I am a Bitmoji person. I go on Teacher Pay Teacher and do what I need to do with my Bitmoji people. But I just love the digital libraries and things like that, because let's put into reality. Yes, as a teacher, you know, our students have, or our children have books at home. Like, I look at my child's room and it's full of books. But in reality, when we're thinking about distance education and that type of stuff, there are some children at home that I'm sure have no books in their entire house. And offering them this digital library actually puts books in their hands without them ever having to go to a library or leave their home. So the neat thing about the digital library, especially for science, is you can build them around the topic that you're actually teaching. So when they're choosing to listen to these books, or you assign them to listen to a book, they are actually learning the content and literacy at the same time. You can stick it in whatever you're using, just for simple, like an early finisher, or just, you know, just any time, just so they're getting that reading in. We actually posted this specific one that I'm getting ready to show you into our Google Drive. And they absolutely loved it last year. They were like, oh my gosh, I read this last night, or I read this. And I mean, it was just so much fun to hear. We actually had a boy in our class that he really struggled with reading, was classified AIG in math, and had the hardest time reading. And we just absolutely loved him. But he was the most excited about this. And it really was satisfying for us, because we knew that he struggled in reading, loved math and science, and we were actually making him read because we were, you know, giving him books that he truly related to. So making these, or, you know, purchasing them, or whatever you decide to do, they are just super handy with actually putting books in your students' hands during this awkward time. So here, this one is, this is a human body digital library. So all of these books are all about the human body system. You've got your skeletal system, you've got your brain, your nervous system, the circulatory system. And, you know, it's really simple these days. You know, the internet has just made life so easy, where you can literally search children's books about the human body. And I was able to find all of these books and links to them in YouTube. So I was literally able to drag pictures in and just do it. And here's their library. They have books at their fingertips. Literally click on it and it would take them to a story that they could read or listen to. And here is the how-to video for how to build these.
So what we're going to take a look at right now is doing a digital library. So this is a little bit different than the math read aloud. And I say that because what I've done is I have loaded these bookshelves with books pertaining to a certain topic that we're learning about. And most of the time I just upload this to their Google Classroom. And it's kind of something that they can use, like an early finisher. Some of them listen to them at home. And if you're doing distance learning, it really gives you a chance, you know, to put that book in a student's hand without actually having a library around. And I just really like it because you're previewing these books, you're giving them safe choices, instead of them just setting out to find a book, because especially with human body systems, there's no telling what your students may pull up. So all the pictures, I have linked them using our link button to different YouTube videos. And most of these are just your simple picture books. But what I did want to talk about real quick is the Human Body Theater. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open that one up. The Human Body Theater is actually a chapter book. And as you can see here, what I've actually done, this is not the same account, so I'm going to show you how to do this. I have taken the different chapters of it and actually turned it into a playlist that goes in order for my students. So when they start listening, they can listen to all the different chapters of it and keep moving through the book. So it doesn't discourage children from being able to read or listen to chapter books, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to search the Human Body Theater book, okay? Oh, look. Wonderful, lots of little book parts. Okay, I'm actually going to do them out of order purposefully. I'm actually going to start with number 3.
So today I'm going to be reading Human Body.
Sweet baby. I've already previewed them all, so I know that they are good. You know, it's got a child reading it, so it makes it relatable to them. What I'm going to do is, in order to do this playlist, I'm going to click Save. And I would create a new playlist, but I've already made the playlist. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to click on Human Body. So what this is doing is moving this video into that playlist. Okay. Then I would continue to search. Okay, now I'm going to put in part 1, pause them. I'm going to save it. I'm going to find that same playlist. Okay, it's there. All right. Oh, look, here's part 2. I'm going to come here. I'm going to save it to the Human Body.
I'm going to be reading Chapter, so let's get
I'm going to search it again so I can get back to my results. I'm going to, oh, here's chapter 5. I'm going to save it in Human Body. Perfect. I'm going to go back. I'm going to add one more. And I think I'm going to do part 7. Oops, I clicked on the wrong part. Here we go. All right, and I am going to save it again. All right, so what I've done now is I've moved all these videos into this playlist. Now I'm going to go back to my channel. I'm going to go to my playlist. Okay, I'm going to click on Created Playlist, and here it is, Human Body. Okay, I'm going to view the full playlist, and I am actually going to I'm going to move them up and down. So it's out of order, so I'm gonna actually do it in order. So I'm gonna make sure 7, 5, and 2 is gonna be my first one. So I'm going to move it up. So you would just use this in order to put it in there. And then the good part of it is it makes it really easy. Is all I have to do is grab this link and use that link to actually link it to my book.
Okay, so that was just a video showing you how to use YouTube to kind of make a chapter book playlist. And you know, that just helps build that literacy through chapter books. That way you're not just giving them simple picture books. And there are lots of playlists that are already made. That book itself, when I went to look for it, was not. So I just was like, it took me a minute to figure it out, but I really, I liked it being in the playlist so my students could keep up with, you know, where they were in the story. And that was honestly their favorite book that they had read on that library. And then we have our digital vocabulary notebooks, which is probably one of our favorite and most needed things for science. So science is, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to add one thing. Holly also created that digital library. She created one for social studies too on the American Revolution for our students to read. So these digital libraries can be used for any subject. I'm sure you could find them for math topics and create a digital library for that too. So just keep that in mind when you're trying to get students to read and research more about specific topics. You can create those digital libraries for them to read on their own.
Yes, thank you. So with our vocabulary notebook, so science is full of vocabulary. 5th grade is one of your EOG science tested grade levels. So we do spend a lot of time on science. And we have found out that the key to science success is vocabulary. And I think that is the key kind of for every grade level. If you want your students to really understand science, they have to know the lingo. So making these digital vocabulary notebooks in Google Slides or in PowerPoint is just super useful, just because the idea of once they make it, it's there. This past year, you know, with in-person teaching, I did it on note cards, and the students loved it. But at the same time, you know, Susie has lost hers, Brandon has lost his. Literally, my sweet Brandon lost everything. but really, you know, this gives a concrete place. They can't lose it. You can see it. It's just, it's there for the entire year, which is the best part. So one thing I do recommend is using different slides to set up different notebooks. So words are grouped by topic. So having a science notebook, a science digital notebook, you may have, you know, you may have one for each topic that you're doing. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to also show you how you could use one slideshow and link it to different parts. That way you kind of have a table of contents that's usable in your PowerPoint. Melissa, do you want to talk about this part?
Yes, so active science vocabulary is a professional development that Holly and I attended that we really, really enjoyed, especially for 5th grade science. Vocabulary for any science, but vocabulary is such a huge aspect of understanding what they have to know in science. So there's a link up top here that will take you to some of the books that you can purchase and the different things of the active science vocabulary professional development that we went to. So the idea behind it is sort of like a Freyer model. So the students will be given a word like chemical change, and so it won't all be filled in here at first. If you see the numbers on the top left next to the word, it says 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that will go. We'll explain that a little bit more on the next slide too. But that's for the students to go ahead and tell you what they know about the word. So in class, they would hold the number right down near their chest, so they're not holding it in the air, they're holding it at their chest, so not everyone can see. It's their own knowledge of the word. But a 1 would be, I've never seen this word before, I don't know what it means. 2 would be, I think I've seen it before, but I'm not quite sure what that word means. 3 is, I've seen it before, I think I know what this word means, but they're not completely confident in it, but they think they can probably tell you. And then 4 is, I know this word, I've seen it before, I've used it before, I can give you the definition. So you kind of want to call more so on those 3 and 4 students so that they can give you an idea of what that word means. And then they would keep track of the definition, they would keep track of the sentence using that word, and then have a picture. So they've got all these different frames of reference to determine what the word means and remember what the word means, see a picture of it, and use it in a sentence as well.
And this did come from the active science vocabulary that we linked up here. But really, honestly, it has the same kind of idea. You know, you can take any word and kind of make it work. I know they use it for their reading. A lot of the reading teachers in our school use it as well. But I think the whole thing about the active science vocabulary is not just the journal part, and that's why we wanted to link it, because, you know, anybody can put this together as far as, you know, using the same idea of word, background knowledge, picture, definition, and sentence. But this specific program has different activities for each day of the week. And it's not necessarily for each day of the week, but it has a set of activities for each group of words that helps build that word. So it's not just them getting this. And that's why we felt like we needed to link it, because it does give like specific activities for you to do in order to help build knowledge of that word.
Yeah, this one's just very easy to put into a digital format.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the other ones you might have to do more so in the classroom.
So here is kind of a bigger look, kind of going over that way when you are at, you know, by yourself and you say, oh, I'd like to use this. It kind of talks about, like Melissa was saying, this goes along. It gives you the idea of what 1, 2, 3, 4 means. It's got a definition. It's a teacher given definition. You don't send them out in the world to go find their own definition. You give it to them. But you definitely make sure that it is a simple one. Don't copy out of the Webster's dictionary for them to understand, because poor babies probably won't get it. But it really just needs to hit home. Very short, condensed, and to the point. The sentence part is going to be a straight out struggle, and we don't know how else to say it besides the fact that it's going to be a struggle. Your students are going to struggle with writing their sentences, but if you continue to push them, and maybe you don't write the sentence on the first day, or, you know, you may wait and add sentences in towards the end, or give them a sentence and then at the end get them to write their own. But, you know, building that literacy using that will be super, super important. And the pictures are just fun, and they're going to love that part. It's going to engage them, being able to Google search for their pictures and being able to put them in. Did I miss anything on that one?
No, I think you covered it all.
Okay, and here is our quick how-to video. This one's just going to kind of show you how to set it up.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at how we can exactly make our science vocabulary notebook, okay? So as you can see, I have made a cover, just allows them to put their name in it. And I have also started like a topic page where I have the different topics that we're going to be covering. Now, these are not all our topics for the entire year, but it's just a few that I knew that we had. Okay, so next thing I'm actually going to do is I am going to set up a master slide. Okay, so pretty simple. All you have to do in order to do that is go to slide and hit edit master. Okay, and it's going to pull up this black box. Okay, most of the time I try and come down and find something really easy, and most of the time I just delete it. Okay, so now what I have is a blank slide, and I am able to edit this slide. I'm going to go ahead and put my cross lines in it to make my 4 boxes. Okay, so I have those in. I'm actually going to move this one up because the top part is usually the shorter part. Okay, I'm going to add some text boxes in there so I can put like word. I'm going to like leave a space there. I'm going to do another text box right here that has my numbers in it. And remember, the numbers are for students to gauge their knowledge of the number or of the word, excuse me, before we ever have taught anything on that word. So strictly background knowledge. I'm going to continue adding these text boxes until I have set up our boxes. Okay, this is the place for the picture. And then I'm also going to make another text box for the sentence. Okay. All right, so I'm actually going to rename the slide as templates, because this will be the template used over and over and over. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to get out of this, and you just can click over here. I'm going to hit slide, new slide. Okay. And once it's done, in order to use that master slide, all you have to do is click layout and find the one that's the one you just made. So pretty much what you're doing is you're changing the layout of your slides. I can click it, and here it is. And what I normally do is I just make a few of these for each section. So let's say I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 topics I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to control paste, 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 paste. I just pasted a bunch of them in there. Okay, so here is the next part. This is the part which is probably my favorite. Okay, so we can see on slide 3, this is our first one, and it's actually going to connect to unicellular and multicellular organisms. Okay, so I'm going to highlight it, and I'm going to link it. Okay, and when I link it, I'm going to link it to a slide in this presentation, and I'm going to link it to slide 3. I'm going to apply it. Okay, let's say that slide 7 is going to be the start of the human body systems. So I can highlight it. I'm going to link it. It's also Control K. I have a MacBook, so it's Control or Alt K. And I'm going to connect it to slide number 7. And the neat thing about that is when I'm going through these, if I'm in present mode, all I have to do is click here and it'll take me to that. So it's perfect for reviewing.
Yes, and I just like that it just connects it. Melissa, do you just want to talk about this? I know we're running a little bit short on time and we got to get them to sign in. Do you want to just talk about this one? I can't hear you.
Sorry, I muted so we weren't echoing. I said I really like for them to see this resource, so I'm just going to kind of introduce it, and then if you'll just play the video, and then we can just be done.
Okay.
Sound good? So this is a digital interactive notebook. Obviously, a way to include vocabulary into the science classroom. It is a really cool resource that we found on Teachers Pay Teachers. Some of these things, you know, we've created, but then we also wanted you to see some things that other people have created, so you don't have to recreate the wheel. So this is a great resource that we found for teaching science and including technology and literacy. This particular bundle was $25. It is a 5th grade science digital interactive notebook that aligns to the North Carolina Essential Science Standards. We really liked this because it was very bright and colorful. It had many graphic organizers in it with lots of information for the students, and it was a way for the students to keep their vocabulary words and any information that they read or knew about the particular topics in science in one place right at the tip of their fingers. So this particular resource has a digital interactive notebook bundle of all of the topics and the standards in science for 5th grade. So we really like this one because it included everything. It has teacher presentations, and it also has the digital notebook for the students to take notes and keep copies. So this is a great resource that we found for teaching science.
Hold on.
And including technology and literacy. This particular bundle was $25.
See, it's acting. It won't. Let me see if I can.
They could look at it on the smartboard and watch as the teacher presents it and interact and come up and interact with it. Or students can also have it, a copy of it in their Google Classroom and read it on their own at home, in a group, however you would like to use it. So I'm just going to kind of run you through the different slides so you can see what it offers. So it always has a definition of the vocabulary word that's being taught. So this specific presentation is on heat transfer, so it tells them a couple definitions, both noun and verb.
We're going to jump ahead just a little bit.
How they can change the font, underline where they would like to go. Right, I need everyone to, for example, have a drag and drop.
Okay. Melissa?
Okay, so I'm just going to kind of quickly talk about this resource since we're kind of running out of time. You can go back and watch this video if you'd like, but this has a table of contents just like you saw Holly in the other video linking to a specific page on the Google side. This links it to the specific page that you'll go to and this Google side. So it's an interactive notebook for them. So for this one, for example, they would drag and drop the word in the correct places. And then they also have places that they can type in definitions, or if they're categorizing organisms or whatever they may be doing, they can type in any information that they have learned about that topic or about that subject area. And then this digital notebook, so this is their heat transfer notebook, it will be saved on their Google Drive for them to refer to and to study at any time throughout the whole school year. So it's a really cool resource. It's already all there for you. You can see that it allows them to interact.
And $25
it was a little
is
bit more expensive, but it did allow, we came together as a team and purchased it as science teachers at our school.
Yes, but $25 for a whole year's worth of stuff was not a huge purchase. We felt like for a full year's worth of interactive stuff. So like we said earlier, the key to science is understanding that vocabulary, and if you can build that vocabulary, you're building their literacy, which is just going to work out all across the board. I don't know if they're still having problems with the section code. We were told earlier today just to get you guys to see, yeah, the box won't even delete now. To go ahead and get you guys to do your attendance for the session using this link. Melissa, do you mind? Oh, did you put it in there already?
I'm putting it in there right now.
Okay.
I don't know if it linked.
But you're welcome to unmute yourself now or ask any questions or have any comments.
Thank you all so much for joining us this morning.
Yes, thank you. I'm glad. We tried to make it things that we really used and not just over the top ideas that are not unattainable, but just, that are just a lot of time consuming for everything that teachers really have going on.
Yeah, and I know someone asked about one of our resources that we mentioned, and I just kind of mentioned to them, you can email us if you think about questions that you have later, or if you're looking back at a video and have a question, just shoot us a quick email and we can respond there. Yes,
and y'all, I somebody asked about the bookshelves and all that kind of stuff. I go on Teacher Pay Teacher. The person that I buy or that does all this stuff, usually her stuff is like $1.50, so I don't mind paying and buying and doing, because $1.50 is not gonna hurt my feelings in the slightest. It just really saves a lot of time. So we really just want to thank you guys, and we hope you enjoyed the session. And I know that y'all have another session, I'm sure, starting at 11, and it is 10:59 right now.